This episode is brought to you by CuriosityStream. Use our link in the description below for a 30-day trial giving you unlimited access to thousands of documentaries and nonfiction titles from some of the world's best filmmakers when you use the code Infographics. By 1962, there had been 12 escape attempts at America's most notorious prison, Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary, and all of them had failed. The authorities believed they had finally created a lockup that no man could escape from. After all, the prison sat on an island just off the city of San Francisco, and even if a person breached the walls, they'd still have to swim through choppy waters to get to land. And then in 1962, some men went missing from their cells after hatching an elaborate escape plan. These guys vanished into thin air, but subsequent investigations ruled that they must have died in the water. "There's no egg on our faces," said the authorities. Well, that might not be true, and a recent letter could be proof of that. It all began on June 11, 1962, when 4 men went missing from their cells. They were Clarence Anglin, John Anglin, Alan West, and Frank Morris. The 2 guys with the same last name were brothers, and they were true tough guys in the physical sense. In their childhood, they were very strong swimmers, and they liked nothing more than to swim in Lake Michigan, even when the water was very cold. Now where should we imprison a couple of brothers who love swimming through ice-cold water? Anyway, if the 2 brothers were strong, Morris could equal them in brains. He had a high IQ, and he was the one who formulated the escape plan. With homemade tools, including sharpened spoons, the guys started digging around a ventilation vent. That vent was too small to crawl into, so they had to widen the hole. They did this over weeks while Morris would play an accordion to drown out the scraping sound. As the hole got bigger, they placed over it a piece of cardboard that looked just like the wall. They knew very well that once they were able to get through the hole, they could reach a utility tunnel. This became a kind of storeroom. Those guys knew very well that even if they did get over the wall, they'd have to get through the water. So they spent months building a raft and they hid it in that tunnel. This raft was created by sticking together around 50 raincoats they had stolen. They used a heating process to make the thing airtight so the raft could be blown up and could float. They also made paddles so they could get themselves to land and to freedom. Of course, if the guards saw men missing from their cells, they would immediately blow the whistle and the game would be up. But the men created dummies that looked like real people. They even used hair they collected from the prison barbers to stick on the dummies' heads. The heads themselves were made out of cement and then painted to give the appearance of human skin. On the night of the escape, the man called West didn't get very far at all. He couldn't get the grill off his vent and he ended up going nowhere. The fact that he remained behind is why we know so much about the escape. The other guys, in short, got to a roof, then over the fences. They had their raft intact but needed to blow it up, and that's not easy for human beings. But the guys had another useful tool. They used the accordion as a kind of pump. So what next? Well, they weren't seen again. Bits of the raft were found, but the men's bodies were never discovered, and let's face it, if they had drowned, surely one of them would have been found. But no, nothing. They were gone. And it's not like every bit of water wasn't scanned for a long time to come. It wasn't until 1979 that the FBI closed the case. "Those guys must have died," said the FBI, and that's that, we're closing the book. But you know what? A lot of people didn't believe those guys had died that night. Their escape was a victory to some criminals. Movies were made about their daring escape, and people wanted to believe that they'd been successful. There were some sightings of the fellas from time to time, but no identification has been conclusive. Some people say that one of the Anglin brothers even attended a funeral, but we can't say for sure if that's true. Then in 2013, a bombshell was dropped. This is the famous letter that was allegedly written by none other than John Anglin. While the cops got a hold of it in 2013, its existence to the public didn't become known until 2018. This is how it went. "My name is John Anglin. I escaped from Alcatraz in June 1962 with my brother Clarence and Frank Morris. I'm 83 years old and in bad shape. I have cancer. Yes, we all made it that night, but barely." The letter goes on to say that the brains of the operation, Frank Morris, died in 2008. But the brothers lived on and did so in the US. Clarence apparently died in 2011, though it seems that John Anglin wanted to come clean since he was so sick. The letter also includes this: "If you announce on TV that I'll be promised to just go to jail for no more than a year and get medical attention, I'll write back to let you know exactly where I am. I'm 83 years old and in bad shape. I have cancer." The authorities didn't follow up on the letter, and it's not clear why. It seems they did reopen the case, but contact with the letter writer was never made. Whoever wrote the letter hasn't come forward again. John would be 89 now. Surely if a man is in his 80s and about to die, then he would step out into the light. If you're on your own deathbed, then you likely don't need to hide from the police, but John hasn't appeared. Did he even contact his family to perhaps say goodbye to them? Well, a nephew of the brothers said this to the media: "It's always been talked about through the family. My grandmother received roses for several years after the escape, but still no John. even if that nephew knew for a fact that John had escaped. Surely after his death, the family would have told all and even allowed some DNA tests, but no body has ever been found. By the way, the letter was analyzed for DNA, but the results were inconclusive. People who have written extensively about this case say that if they really did escape and live long lives, surely someone in this world would know. If Morris really did die in 2008, surely someone from his family would have said something. Where's his body? Was there a funeral? Still, the bodies weren't found in the water either, and we know that athletes swim through that water. Those two brothers with their strong swimming skills could have made it, is what many people think. Others say they all drowned, and the reason their bodies were never recovered is because they were swept into the Pacific Ocean. Dutch researchers a few years ago created simulations of the movements of waters that night, and their conclusion was that on that raft those guys could have escaped. Still, that doesn't necessarily mean they weren't swept away. We looked to see if anything else came up after that letter was sent, and there is nothing. For that reason, we think that it's unlikely that the letter was written by John. In his death throes, he would have told someone who he was, and we would have heard about it. It just makes no sense that the letter is real. Although we won't say that the men didn't escape and just kept their heads down their entire lives. Maybe you disagree. We want to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, CuriosityStream. We know you love to learn just as much as we do, and there's no better place to get the highest quality documentaries and nonfiction titles than on the streaming service created for those with a lifelong quest to learn, explore, and understand. We just watched How to Build a Castle, and not only did we learn a ton, now we're ready to build one of our own. With thousands of videos across science, nature, history, and more, you'll never run out of new topics to explore. You can get unlimited access for just $2.99 a month or $19.99 a year. And for viewers of the Infographics show, the first 30 days are completely free if you sign up at curiositystream.com/infographics and use the code Infographics. If you enjoyed wrapping your brilliant brain around this mystery, why not become an online sleuth and watch our video, Why Was the Zodiac Killer Never Found? Or What Happened to Malaysia Airlines Flight 370? Both of these cases need your attention and investigative skills, so we'll leave it up to you which you decide to watch.